Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I'm speaking with author Sandra Ingerman again. I am so blessed because I get to talk to you again, Sandra. And we're talking about this book, came out last October. And I love this book so much. First of all, I love the feel, like this book is really well done. I just love the feel of it and the pages and everything. But uh, what an amazing book. I knew I was going to love it. After we talked the last time, I knew it. But I feel like I've learned so much from this book. Like, it kind of opened my eyes even more when we talked the last time. We were talking about like power animals and shaman, and but this is the ceremonies, and like I didn't know anything about ceremonies. So anyway, I'm going to let you tell everybody about this book.
Yeah, well, thank you, and it's great to see you again and be back on your show. I got into shamanism 35 years ago, and I was really fascinated with the idea of performing ceremonies, and I felt that there was a right way to perform a ceremony and a wrong way to perform a ceremony, and if I did it wrong, I was going to get into trouble. And so I had a client who was actually really well known. She's deceased now as a person who taught how to a ceremony in the Bay Area. I was living in the Bay Area at the time. And I said to her, let's do a trade. I'll work on you and you teach me how to perform ceremonies. And she looked at me, teach you how to perform ceremonies? There's nothing to teach. Just do it. Just set your intention and do it. So I went ceremony crazy, because I love ritual. And I started, at night making a little altar in my living room and lighting a candle and getting out my drum and setting an intention and asking for all these things. And just had a miraculous time. Had to teach myself how to be careful about the intentions I set, because ceremony really works. And then in the 1990, when I started teaching 5-day workshops around the world, I started leading ceremonies, and we were having amazing experiences. And so ceremony has become a real core of my work. I really love it. And so ceremony is a sacred act. And ceremony gives us a chance to lift up out of our humanness and step into our spirit self, our divine self. And during a ceremony, when you set your intention, it's like a phone line gets created between you and the creative forces of the universe. And so your intention goes up that line, and the universe hears your desire, your wishes, what's happening for you, and then starts to help behind the scenes, start to create the energy to help to manifest your dreams. And so ceremony work has been done for thousands of years in every shamanic culture, and they were done to welcome babies and honor transitions, marriages, rites of passage, honoring the change in seasons and the moon and the stars, and honoring the earth and the air and the water and the fire, and releasing pain and asking for blessings. Ceremony has been done all over the world, for so many different purposes. And the thing I love about ceremony is in such a time of change, it gives us a sense of stability, a sense of centeredness. And this is what we all really need right now, because things are changing so rapidly.
Yeah, and I was thinking about how we can relate right here in the US. I mean, American Indians, like, they were when I think about drums and ceremonies, like harvest anything. I mean, they would have ceremony for, and it was very spiritual. for like I envisioned that, learning about that in school and everything. So when I was reading this, I was like, wow, I didn't really think about like, I don't know. It's so hard for someone like, for somebody like me who's never really done it. But then I was thinking, we had our religious ceremonies, baptisms and stuff like that. But this kind of a thing where it's really, like you said, the intention is set and it's a blessing or whatever, you divide this book up into lots of parts. And I have to tell you, the one, I wrote it down as a matter of fact. So I loved the ceremonies to create energetic balance. I love that one.
Yeah.
And then the life as a ceremony. I love that one. But okay, I have to tell you something that happened to me last night. And I always think nothing is a coincidence. So the fact that I'm talking to you today, I'm like, that is not a coincidence. Okay.
Okay.
And I don't even know, like, I was like, I don't even know if she does dream work or anything. But I had the most profound dream last night. One of those where you sit up and your heart's pounding and you feel like it's happened. But it was about, okay, I'm going through stuff. And I've been talking to, my parents are both deceased. And I feel like I've been talking to them more than normal, right? Like kind of out loud, right? So I had this dream. My dad, I did not see my dad right before he died. He died of cancer. And he was in this fetal position and he was holding my hand and I could vividly see his hand. And he was like, help me get out of pain. And I was like, it freaked me out. I woke up and I was like, okay, I've been talking to them, but not, I don't know. And it scares me. I'm like, am I saying the wrong stuff? Like I'm trying to get them to, help. And then like I have this very vivid dream and I was like, I wonder what Sandra thinks of that.
Well, deceased relatives come in our dreams all the time. It's a way that they can communicate with us because, our conscious mind steps away, while we're sleeping. But I know this is a heavy topic, but I'm wondering if your father needs some kind of help right now, because he was
asking for his help, and he like needs.
But you were asking for his help, but he showed up. Did you say he showed up saying he needed help getting out of pain? Yeah, so he might need some help crossing over. He might not have completely crossed over yet. And so there's a ceremony that I can do to help him cross over.
But it's been so long, like doesn't time matter?
Well, time doesn't matter. And so I'd have to check to see if he actually needed help. And so in shamanism, there's a ceremony called psychopomp. Psychopomp is a Greek word which means conductor of souls. And it's a ceremony you can try and do on your own if you want, of telling your father how much you love him and that it's time for him to go to the light. And where you raise your hands up and send him to the light and see if you notice a difference in your life. And if you don't, contact me and I'll help you with that next step.
When you said that, you like lit up.
Yeah, because in the Book of Ceremony, I write about honorable closure and ceremonies for honorable closure. And it sounds like he just needs a little lifting up to a higher realm. And it's a very big topic. I spend days and days and days teaching about this in my workshops. So it's more than I can talk about it in a minute. But I can try and help you in any way that I can. But working with the honorable closure ceremony of just telling him how much you love him, it's time for him to go back home, to be with his relatives and his loved ones, and sending him back. And so one of the issues in our culture is in shamanic cultures, this was done for everyone. And in our culture, we haven't looked at this, and so there's a lot of deceased souls who still need a bit of help. And I actually have, just for the audience who's going, wait, 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 I need help with this too. I've been training teachers and practitioners since the early 2000s, and I have a website, shamanicteachers.com. And if anybody out there feels that they have a loved one that they want somebody to check on and make sure that they're okay, visit shamanicteachers.com, and there will be a local practitioner or teacher who can help you do this work. But in the meantime, Michelle, I would say try it on your own. And if you don't feel a difference, then contact me, and I can help you with that. Because one of the things that I was going to share is that why ceremony is so important, and for us to learn our own unique ceremonies, is that the issues that we're dealing with on the planet right now are very different than what shamanic cultures had to deal with hundreds and thousands of years ago. So it's no longer appropriate to use old ceremonies that were done before, because we need ceremonies for the issues that we're dealing with right now. And even shamans in shamanic cultures around the world, they're changing their chants, they're changing their ceremonies, because everything in the world is changing right now. So our needs of how we do ceremonial work, and that's why I gave so many examples of the ceremonies we need in our culture. In shamanic cultures, they didn't retrieve a soul of a home or of an office space, because everything was built with so much honor and respect. But today, we need to do some work on our homes and our offices. We need to do some work to help our deceased relatives. And these are things that shamanic cultures didn't have to deal with. And so I really tried to show people how to design ceremonies so that you don't go looking out there to copy a ceremony that's not appropriate because it belongs to another culture, for one. But we also have to make the ceremonies really personal, so that they're coming from our heart, so that they really have that fuel. If they're not coming from our heart, they don't have the fuel. So you love your father, and this might be metaphorical for you. He might not need any help whatsoever. He might have been showing you a metaphor of a pain that you're in right now, because dreams are oftentimes a metaphor. So it's really hard to know. But what I would suggest is that you at least honor him and say, if you haven't gone to the light, go now. There's loved ones waiting to welcome you there. But take some time in nature, or drink a cup of tea and reflect on if there's a metaphor about this that's speaking to you.
Yeah, and I said to my daughter this morning, and I was like, I wonder why he's coming to me, because I don't dream about him a lot. And she was like, no, you dream. He wasn't coming to you. And I was like, oh, no. See, I really think they come to me when I dream.
Yes.
I don't dream about my parents often, but I think when I do, like, I feel like it's them coming to me for whatever, like I said, maybe because I've been talking about him a lot, and, kind of,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Very common for deceased loved ones to show up in a dream. That's really common.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've been calling him in because you're going through something. And so you can look at the metaphor of what that picture means to you, of what he might be saying to you.
Yeah. I know when my mom was dying, I was with my mom. She died of cancer in 2011. And I was alone with her a lot. And, her process, even though you can look back and go, she went fast, but being with her day to day, it's,
Right.
a slow process. But at one point, I was like standing next to her bed, and she was like, tell your dad to go away. I'm not ready to go yet. And I was like,
Okay. Okay.
that's why I believe, like she was like,
So,
and I,
okay. He's okay then. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he's
That
okay,
was
but
a
I'm just saying,
metaphor.
like, she
Yeah.
saw, I mean, I know I looked at her face, like, and people
Yeah.
can say, well, she was on morphine or she was, I don't know. She was pretty with it when she said it. And she was like, you can't see him? And I'm like, no, I can't. And she was like, ugh, like, all disturbed with me because I couldn't see him. Like, she saw him very clearly. And I love
Yeah.
that.
See, that's what happens, and that's the beauty about death. And we know this in shamanism that at the point of death, a loved one comes to escort you home.
Mm,
And so, what happens in our culture is, family members run out and get the doctor and say, my mother, my father is hallucinating, give them drugs to
right.
stop the hallucinations. But it's actually the most healing thing that happens for everybody. I tell people when I sit with them as they're dying that don't worry, a loved one is going to show up when you're ready to escort you home. And they always say, oh, you mean like my brother who I've been seeing for days now, or my mother who's been coming to me? I go, yes. And we see that across the board is a loved one comes. So that shows to me that your dad is okay and that your dream was a metaphor for you to really look at. um,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, of course you always hear it, but then to see her, like,
yeah,
and know, you've heard like I'd heard stories, but when you actually see someone and when you're looking at them that they're not just hallucinating and they're not, it was one of her most vivid, things that she said the entire week.
right.
So
I
I knew that she
understand.
wasn't
Yeah.
just making it up.
I've seen it thousands of times. I've heard thousands and thousands of stories
Yeah.
and read them too. Yeah, yeah. It's a known. That's something that we do know is that you don't have to cross over alone. There's always somebody there who comes to help you, and that brings a lot of people a tremendous amount of comfort.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about from reading your books is that there's this continuation of life, and like everything around us. Of course, the last one, I mean, when we talked about animals and nature, and it's not like this, we have an ability to just make it like about us. And I love that it's not just about us. You've
Right,
opened up like a whole new world. Like the people who have passed on, they're still around. The animals, the nature, everybody cares about
right,
what's going on because you feel like it's only just we've made this little bubble of it just being us. And I love
right.
the fact. I love thinking like, oh, it's not that closed off. It is a whole universe of you know of of, of caring, of love, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
so one of the things I'm trying to teach right now is that we need more kindness towards nature and towards others, and that's real healing when we're kind to nature and when we're kind to others. Everything becomes kin to us, as it was in a shamanic culture. Everything was family in shamanic cultures. The plants, the trees, the animals, everything was family, was part of the family. And we're so disconnected from that. And there's a loss that we're all experiencing from cutting ourselves off from the rest of
yes.
life. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I remember I told you that I thought that my power animals was birds. And
Uh-huh.
shortly after that, I have this very small bush outside my front door, and a robin made her nest in this bush, right?
Wow.
And I saw her building it, and she'd come and go, and then she laid the eggs. And
Wow.
anybody else that would come out of my house, she would fly away. But if I could get this close to her and I would
Close.
talk to her, I would be like, "Oh, they're so beautiful. I love your eggs, and I love." And then everybody, my kids are like, "You are crazy." I'm like, "Well, she's not scared of me, but you guys walk out and she flies all over the place." So I felt like I had a real connection with her, and she had the eggs, and then chicks came out, and they left. They're gone. But I don't know. It was like right after, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to tell Sandra." Like, we were just talking about my weird connection to birds, but I could get this close in the bush. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm teaching a course right now for the Ship Network, and I have a new one actually starting on Tuesday about speaking with nature. And the power of that is everybody who took the first part of the course with me is all having the same experience as you. Animals are no longer running away from them
Yep.
because they feel the emanation of love, they feel the emanation of kindness, and there's two-way conversations going back and forth now. And what's happening for people is they're stepping into a dimension of beauty that's so beyond what we just experience in our daily lives, where we're cut off from the wealth of those kinds of
Oh
experiences.
yes, absolutely. I did. It was awesome. I was like, I just can't wait to tell Sandra about it because it's
Yeah,
absolutely. I have noticed a huge difference in just connecting and not being scared of, and like it's almost like they know, like you're no longer afraid, or I don't
yeah,
know. Interesting. But anyway, everybody, go get this book. It's beautiful. I'm going to put the links below. I'm also going to put Sandra's link that she was talking about below if you would like to communicate with her. And thank you so much for giving this book to me. I just loved it.
yeah. It's a great book filled with lots of tools of how to perform ceremonies in our everyday life and how to do it with friends and family members and how to make it accessible so that it doesn't feel weird.
Yes, absolutely. Right, exactly. I really do think that if you do it with your friends and family, like it is a connection. And,
Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm gonna try that one you told me to. Even though it wasn't about him letting him go, it still can be a form of intention,
oh
of
yeah,
things
you
going
want
on,
to honor 'em. Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
well, thank you so much. It's been so nice
yeah,
to talk to you, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk again. And
yeah,
because I love
yeah.
seeing you.
Well, good luck with everything,
Oh,
and it's
thank you.
always a delight to be with you. And thank you for being such a radiant light in the world. And say, give that Robin my love.
I will. Thank you. Have a great day, Sandra.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.